Hey guys, welcome back. It is time for my anti-haul number 7, what I am not gonna buy. My usual disclaimer applies. I'm telling you why I'm not gonna be buying these things because they're not a good fit for me and why they're not a good fit for my collection. The same reasons that I'm not going to buy them may be reasons you don't want to buy them, or they may be items that you do want to buy. So if that's how you feel about them, you should go ahead and do that. I'm not here to bash brands or anything like that. I'm just sharing my opinions and trying to give you another point of view as opposed to the whole buy that you see from a lot of beauty gurus. I'm personally tired of being sucked into buying things because of fear of missing out, or because it has pretty packaging, or it's limited edition, because then I get these items home and I'm like, oh, I already have 2 or 3 colors that are identical to you in my collection, which is no good. So first up is ColourPop. Now, I love ColourPop. They make a lot of great products, but there are 2 products that they're releasing in particular that I'm not gonna buy. The first one is the Knockout palette. Now, I think the draping blush technique is really cool. It's coming back into style. I was researching it recently and there's like 4 different ways to do it, so it's really fun to play with. I think it's a great way to actually get more use out of all the blushes you already own. So while I think the Knockout set from ColourPop is probably perfect for this, the reason I'm not gonna buy it is because I already own a ton of peachy blushes and I've already got a bunch of peachy eyeshadow shades. So even if I don't have like the exact shade as a blush, I can use eyeshadow in a pinch to try to create that two-tone effect. If you're somebody who doesn't have a lot of blushes, this may be a great fit for you. It's just not a good fit for me. Next up is the ColourPop Blow Me Away set. Now, I was actually really surprised to see them release this set because ColourPop already has like 4 shades that are similar to this in their permanent pressed pigment lineup. So I was kind of like, you already have these shades, why are you putting them into a set? I personally also own a lot of peach colors from Makeup Geek. Like I did my own DIY peach palette with Makeup Geek that was like a million times more peachy than the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette or any other peach palette that I've seen. If you love peach shades and you don't already have the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette or your own DIY peach palette, this may be a good fit for you. But if you're like me and you have your own DIY peach palette, you probably want to skip this. Next up is the Too Faced Natural Love palette. Now, when I first saw this palette, I was like, why is Too Faced emulating Violet Voss? Because the palette looked like one of the Violet Voss palettes. I mean, it looked kind of like the Ride or Die, the Holy Grail, like one of those neutral brown palettes. And I was just like, why did they create this palette? So then I started looking into the Natural Love palette. And so the Natural Love palette by Too Faced has 30 different shades. However, a lot of those colors look really similar to one another. And if you put them on the skin, they look really similar. And then additionally, when I was researching even further, I saw that about 15 of the 30 colors are repromotes from other Too Faced packages. So if you're already a Too Faced fanatic and you own a ton of Too Faced palettes, you already own half of this palette. So I don't see why you would feel the need to buy it then. I kind of think it's crazy to release an all new palette with 15 shades that are repromotes. That's half the freaking palette. Added to the fact that a lot of Too Faced palettes lately have been very disappointing in quality, and I feel like it's a skip. The last palette that I solidly loved from Too Faced was the Chocolate Bonbons palette. I feel like none of the eyeshadow palettes that they put out lately has really excited me. It's really kind of disappointing, but when I was reading about this palette having 15 repromotes, I was like, that's just ridiculous. I don't even understand how they have the gall to call that a new palette when it has all those repromotes. So anyway, it is not a fit for me. I am not gonna buy it. Next up is the Too Faced Love Lights. Now, when I saw these, I died over the packaging because it looked like Sailor Moon Prism like packaging. I was like, oh wow, these are gorgeous. Absolutely love the packaging. Almost got sucked into buying one because of the packaging. But then I was like, the colors really don't look that original. I already have highlighters that look like those colors in my collection. I would just be buying this for the packaging. I'd probably use it, 2 or 3 times. I'd review it and then it would just sit in my collection and gather dust. So I talked myself out of buying it because I know I wouldn't use it even though it has gorgeous packaging, and I almost pulled the trigger. Then today I was reading online and I saw that, oh, the formula isn't that good either. I guess they got like a D rating from Temptalia, so I was like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't just impulse buy that. Next up would be the Anastasia Beverly Hills Nicole Guerrero Highlight Kit. Now, this highlighter kit is beautiful. And I know I've had some friends who bought it and they just say that it's amazing and like butter, all of these phrases with it. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, not for me. It looks kind of orangey and warm. And I don't feel like that entire palette would be something that I could wear with my pale skin. I don't think it would be flattering on me. So even though I think it looks pretty, even though I think it's probably a really cool collaboration, I just don't think it's a good fit for me, so I'm not gonna buy it. Next up is the Jouer Springtime in Paris palette. Now, this is a spring palette, and when I saw this palette swatched, I was like, this doesn't look like spring, it looks like fall. It's a very dark palette, the colors are very muted, and initially I was like, ooh, that looks like it's gonna be a gorgeous purple. No, it's just like I probably have like 10 purples just like that because it's kind of like a muted plummy purple. It has a bunch of neutral shades. So once I saw it swatched, it really curbed my desire to want to buy it because I was just like, it's nothing exciting. I already own all of those neutrals, and I own those pops of color that are like the dark blue and the dark green and the dark purple that are very muted. So totally not a palette I need when I already have a bunch of shades just like that. And I feel like most people probably already have those like 5 staple neutral colors that are in that palette already. So anyway, not gonna buy it. Next up is the Rituel De Fille Eclipse Highlighter. So this is actually technically not a highlighter, but the first article I read about it in, I think it was Allure, was calling this a black highlighter, like following in the steps of Jeffree Star. And I went to the Rituel De Fille website, and no, that's not actually what it is. It is not the black. It's not a cream. It is not a cream black highlighter. It is a multi-purpose cream product that is meant to be used as a contour, a blush, a lipstick, and an eyeshadow. And while I do really like the Rituel De Fille formulas for their lipsticks and their eyeshadows and their blushes, I'm not really feeling the black. Like, maybe I'd have to see it swatched. Like, from the description that it gives, it's supposed to be black with a hint of aubergine, so purple. I'm like, maybe, but then I think about the fact that I already own a shit ton of black lipsticks, which I could use the black lipsticks to do a cream contour or a cream blush or a cream eyeshadow. And I have hooded eyes, so cream, like a really truly cream eyeshadow does not work on me very well. Like, it'll crease and come off in 20 minutes, so I really need something that's gonna set. So then I was like less excited about it and not gonna buy it. Next up is the Kevyn Aucoin Holographic Molten Metals. Oh my god, when I saw these lip glosses, they looked amazing. There are 2 colors that are holographic. One's like, I think, Cosmic Sky, and the other one's Cosmic Opal. When I saw those colors, I went, oh my god, I need, because they're holographic and they're swatched. And one's like a holographic like pinky red, and the other one's like a holographic blue violet. So gorgeous. And then I reminded myself, no, you don't need these. You don't like to wear gloss. Why would you buy them? And then I'm like having this like little war in my head where like there's the little good guy saying you don't want these at all because you're not going to wear them, and the little bad guy is going, oh no, you absolutely want these because they're holographic, they're gorgeous, they're iridescent. No, I don't. Once I got over that impulse to just buy, what I realized is that 1, I wouldn't wear them because they're glosses. 2, I already have plenty of products that'll give me that same effect. I have the Kat Von D Alchemist palette, which will let me create that same effect on my lips by using the powder and just tapping it on my lips. I have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Moondust palette, which will do the same thing. I also have the Bite Beauty Opal lipstick, which will give that sort of opalescence as well. So I have plenty of products that will give me that same effect without them being gloss, since I hate that gloss formula. I don't need to buy a $30 lip gloss that's just going to be used once or twice and then sit in my collection, never to be touched again. So yes, that's how I talked myself out of that, not gonna buy it. Last but not least is the Tarte Unicorn palette. When I saw this palette, I went, I want it. I want it so bad. And I had to remind myself, I don't even really like Tarte eyeshadow formula. It's not my favorite. I found that out when I reviewed my Swamp Queen palette and the Tarte Pro palette back to back, that I don't really like their powdery thin formula. So if this eyeshadow palette is the same as that, I'm not gonna want it. And then when I started trying to look for swatches of it, I saw swatches of it and I was like, oh, but it has such a pretty teal and a green and a purple and all of these colors that I like. And yeah, it has neutrals, which I probably would, maybe touch, maybe that one transitional color, but I would ignore the rest. And then I'm like, 1, I shouldn't be buying a palette if I'm not gonna use like 9 out of 10 shades. 2, I probably have colors like that in my collection. So I started looking through my eyeshadow collection and realized that most of my Makeup Geek foils looked similar to that palette. So I already have colors like that. And then I also realized that even if I didn't have colors like that, I could buy it cheaper if I wanted to pick up the BH Cosmetics foiled palette, because my friend Mai reviewed that palette and the colors are very, very similar. So I talked myself down from buying it, even though like I had this reaction of, I really want to buy this palette. It looks really gorgeous. I like the packaging. I like the unicorn theme. No, I'm gonna save my money and buy the Saucebox Mermaid Life palette instead. All right, so that wraps up my anti-haul number 7. I hope you enjoyed hearing about why I'm not going to be buying these products. Please be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video entertaining, please give it a thumbs up and share. And if you haven't already, go ahead and click the subscribe button so you don't miss my next video. Thanks so much for watching.